and 1. So it'll transition over. There we go. Now we're live. It was stuck. It was, for some reason it wasn't.
It's always
Hello.
the worst when you get to the end of the countdown and it's like, wait, it didn't work.
I know. It's like, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Is it working?
Yes,
Hello?
it's working. I was just watching the chat because we have some lovely individuals. Um,
We have some lovely people in today. Hello,
Anyways,
everyone.
hello, everyone. We are back with Sometimes Dungeons, Sometimes Dragons. As you can see, there's no guest tonight because me and Ben are actually going to be talking about one of our favorite topics in the world, which is Tarek and Farrell.
Yeah, we don't get to talk about them very often, so we thought, you know what? Let's
It's just, it's
literally
just
talk about them on the daily.
It's just me and Ben tonight. We didn't have a guest. And so we were like, let's talk about something that's super important to the both of us, in game and out, which is a understanding of strong communication between two characters that are in a relationship, inside and out, and how that looks.
Mm.
As always, it's me and Ben. So Ben, where else can we find you? Because I know you do everything else too, just like I do.
I do so many things, so many things. Ben's DnD on the TikToks. On Mondays, you can find me on Dice Cream Sound should be on the Realms. If you don't know what Beyond the Realms is, you're going to be very confused. Yeah, you're going to be very confused watching this stream. Yeah, Wednesdays on twitch.tv/ this show is a mimic for the Dungeons and Demigods stream, which is wait, no, that's over on Schooner Later. My bad. Wrong channel. On Saturdays, I am on the show as a mimic for the Sardin Chronicles. And yeah, that's a few places you can find me.
And you can find me as well as Ben on Beyond the Realms every Monday over on Dice Cream. You can find me every Wednesday over at Lark Network, where I play with Ruby, a Fire Genasi rogue. We're about to go Under Siege, so it'll be great. And Fridays, you can find me normally here. Next week is the rectification with the girls' game. So, as you can see, we have some fantastic artwork. So, shout out to all of our phenomenal artists who have done commissions for us, whether they've been gifted or not, because there's a couple of ones on there that I've commissioned and somebody else has commissioned, and there's been a couple of gifts in there. So shout out to all of our wonderful artists and credit to them.
They're so beautiful.
So, Tarek and Farrell.
So Tarek and Farrell, these
two of our favorite
crazy, chaotic beans.
They are.
Oh
so,
boy.
For those who don't know,
I'm playing them for over a year now.
Over a year, I know.
Yeah.
Jesus. So, for those who don't know, tell me a little bit about Tarek.
God, where to begin? Tarek is a sweet boy, lovely boy, best boy. He is my lovely himbo, I guess. News to me, honestly, but yeah, no, he's probably a himbo. Tarek is a tiefling, warlock of whatever subclass he's feeling at the time. He's been so many at this point. But yeah, he started from the life that he can remember at about the age of 14. He I'm trying to remember what stuff stream knows, so I don't give away secrets. From the age of about 14, he doesn't have any memories from before that of his family. But he from what he can remember or has been told as of recent, fell into a underground temple where he found the hexblade weapon, or a hexblade weapon, of the entity known as Fraz Urblu, hexblade patron, which promptly took all of his memories and basically just said, "You're mine now." And the first memory he has is of hearing his voice and being told basically his name. And then Fraz basically gave him a speech about how they should make a deal and that he can help him. And then basically, trained him to be a real bad assassin who did bad things, and it was not good. But he didn't know any better because no memories.
Nothing.
no think, pretty much.
We did get a hydrate, so
Um,
you have to hydrate them.
heck yeah, all the
Thank you,
hydrate.
JJ.
Um, after that, he oh god, where did he go after that? He spent some time with the Hexblades in place redacted, um, as that's currently unknown. Um, I don't believe I brought that up on stream. No, I have
You
not.
have not yet.
So
Not yet.
place redacted. After that, he kind of went out solo for a while, still working for the Hexblades, but kind of not centralized. He kind of went out and spent some time kind of alone, thinking things over, trying to kind of he'd been given this kind of goal of if you do enough, I'll help you get your memories back, which we later found out is a lie because he still doesn't have them. But he's basically went out, left the city, went to go and kind of find his own way, do missions elsewhere for Fraz Blue, and met up with some party members, some good old friendos, his first party. They spent some time roaming together. They found themselves. He started to get on with them quite well, whilst secretly doing bad things on the side for Fraz. And then eventually that got him into a bit of trouble as he was discovered by a different patron, known as Mammon, who secretly invited the party all to his manor after completing a job for him. Tricked them all into attending this event that basically turned into, if you've seen Game of Thrones, it's just a red wedding pretty much. It was bad. To which he then offered the party members a choice of just, you can either just die trying to fight me because you will not win. I can erase all of your memories so you don't have any memory of what happened here. Or you can join my army. And Tarek took that third option, but changed it slightly and said, how about I become your personal warlock instead? Because you're powerful. Because he'd always kind of been taught to like chase power and crave as much power as possible, which is what he was doing. So don't think his patron expected him to go that far, though. So he joined up with Mammon after promptly unaliving one of his party members to prove his loyalty. Yep, like I said, he's done some bad shit. It's not good. But then shortly after that, we led to the first one-shot that we did a year ago, which was the Balthazar job, which is where he met his lovely friends, Tarek, Farrell. He met himself.
He met himself.
He
did, in a way,
he
actually.
met himself. He kind of did. Yeah, in a way. But it was where he originally met the original Frostbreakers, which included Farrell and Mr. Fiend and a couple of others. They did the job there. That was where he first got Mjolnir. He was originally going to betray the party for Mammon to collect the item that they were getting from this vault. But after some persuasion from Farrell and deciding to make a better choice after realizing that just betraying everyone around him wasn't going to work anymore. He didn't want to do that. He made a good choice, which made him worthy, apparently, as he could now properly wield Mjolnir. And then shortly after that, the Prince of Frost attacked, and then, the rest is history, pretty much.
That leads us into Farrell, who is my lovely Circle of the Moon Druid. She started out very young with her backstory, as you can see now on stream as of last week, or as of this week, I guess, dealing with the death of her sister, as she had been messing around as a young girl with her younger sister, experimenting with her powers, and her sister, and I won't put a trigger warning. Cool. Her sister drowned. And Farrell has dealt with that for the majority of her life afterwards, so she didn't accept it. She didn't even deal with it. She didn't heal for it, as she just up and left without a moment's notice. She didn't say anything. She didn't save her, so she left. And you can see that played out in the first one-shot we did, three-shot, when it became a three-shot in the second part of that stream, where she was forced to come to terms with that, but she still didn't. as well as she could have, because it kept coming up again, as seen this week. Um,
I still can't believe you dropped that on us in what was supposed to be one shots. I
I
can't.
didn't realize. Okay, so to preface this, I did not realize that Kevin was going to use her backstory at all. I had chosen the background haunted one and went, okay, cool, I need a reason. Well, here's a reason. I never expected Kevin, or Dice Cream Sandwich, who is our phenomenal DM, to take
Absolutely.
that and use it against me. Um, but so when she ran away, there's a lot of history that happened between now and then, because and a lot of that hasn't been discussed on stream. One of them being, well, I mean, you can see up until the point that she met her bards.
Yeah.
But between her leaving home and the point that you see her bards, there's a lot that you haven't seen yet, so I can't say anything. But she met her bards, which you might know the names of Salil and Thair and Ecstasy and Caitlin, who are her bards from the Broken Stage. She came in as their last member, having run and dealing with other things, traveling around. She came across them at a tavern and fell in love with Salil. They started dating, and her joining the Broken Stage. What they don't know is that she was still working for the Ruined Saints during that time. The bards don't know that yet, so Salil doesn't know that yet, but she was working underhandedly the entire time that she was with the Broken Stage. She was doing odd jobs for Zaif, who was the leader of her section of the Ruined Saints, and was actually supposed to be becoming an enforcer for them, and was working her way up the ranks. So there was a lot of underhanded things that were going on while she was performing on stage or anything else. She was a very good distraction. This time she was going by Lilith. She wasn't actually going by the name Farrell, or her real name, which we discovered last week. At least on stream. The players found it out. The characters have not.
Oh man, I wanna know when that's gonna come up.
Sorry.
I know.
But so was with Salil, was happy for the most part because it was easy. She was with somebody she loved. They dated for a year and a half. She worked for Broken Stage for a year and a half. They traveled around to whatever. And then Zaif asked her to perform her first assassination, and she did. It was on a local noble who was underhandedly taxing people. He wasn't a good guy. He wasn't the worst guy, but he wasn't a good guy. And Farrell very easily was able to use Pass Without a Trace and go ahead and unalive him. She saw what she had done. She realized that she couldn't drag Salil or the rest of the bards into that lifestyle with her, and she left. She ghosted again for the second time in her life. A common trend with her is that she runs. She when it's hard, you run. Not when it comes to a fight, but when it comes to social situations or things that she's done that she just can't deal with. When it comes to actual combat, she's right there in the midst of battle, but this is a little different of a situation. So with blood on her hands and the dagger still with her, she left. She ran away as fast as she could, took the dagger with her, eventually kept it with her bag until much later on, when we came across our bards in Prince Shander, and she threw it at Salil's feet, admitting finally to him what she had done. Unbeknownst to her, he was also working with Zaif, so it didn't really matter to her other than now she's upset. Went to came back to the Ruined Saints after 3 years because she worked in a brothel in that time, doing some underhanded sketchy stuff as well as working at said brothel. Begged Zaif for the job that she went on that one shot for, which was absolutely begging Zaif, and went on the one shot of trying to steal that cube that was the artifact. But her job was actually a little bit different, as she was there to poison the adventurer whose manor they were at, which was Balthazar. Did not get to complete that job as the Prince of Frost happened. And kind of met...
That's not usually who you blame it on.
No.
I wonder how that could have been. What?
How bizarre. No.
How bizarre.
You mean Tarek getting in her way because he was too busy acting as Tim the Adventurer?
What?
It's your fault, but... Yeah,
wow.
Was supposed to poison Balthazar and did not get a chance to, and once again had another uncompleted mission that she didn't fulfill. and got stuck with this party down below in the vaults trying to steal this object, where she witnessed Tarek try to pick up the cube and just leave, and asked him if he was going to follow through and leaving, and he did not. And at that point, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because the Prince of Frost came through a portal, and the rest is history. Now we are here a year later in Asgard, where
Yeah.
Tarek and Farrell, they're still in the party, but not in the relationship that they originally had started in as the one-shot had continued. Which gets us to our topic for today.
Yeah.
Which is communication in a relationship of characters, both inside and out, as the player characters and as the people playing them.
Yes.
So when the relationship first started, which was not something me and Ben had ever spoken about, because me and Ben didn't know each other up until that first one shot.
Yeah, first one shot was the first time we met. There was like a month or two like gap between the first one shot and the second one.
Yeah, there was a month gap, month and a half, I believe.
So we'd known each other a little bit by then,
but it was not ever something we had discussed until it happened. Which was interesting, because in the very first one shot they had made that eye contact of, are you gonna follow through on this, and had played it into Tarek stopping. But that was not something we'd previously discussed, that they were going to be a thing until much later. During that second one shot, when we realized that was the direction it was going to go, there was a conversation that we had where we sat down in a voice chat and said, is this what we're comfortable with? Because the chat was shipping it very hard.
Chat was shipping it, because I mean, so from it definitely felt very natural as well, because like there was kind of like the stuff in the first one shot where like ultimately the reason Tarek didn't leave was because of the look of betrayal Farrell gave him, which unbeknown to her, he'd seen somewhere before, and he saw it again and went,
not again.
I'm not gonna do this again. I literally cannot do this again. That was kind of where it like started, I guess, but like it was never like something that was planned. And then it literally just got to just that heartbreaking moment with Farrell's backstory in the second one shot, and then like comforting each other and kind of realizing that they'd come from kind of similar backgrounds. Like that's the thing. Like again, just listening back to both of their backstories there, I realized how similar they are in terms of like the arcs they went through. Just they went about them in slightly different ways. They definitely shared kind of like that shared kind of knowledge of what it's like to go through, hardships. And that was a very heartfelt conversation we had literally like right before the break of the second one shot. Like it was right before break, and everyone in the chat was just like, yes, we ship it so much. Hashtag Farrick. Oh man,
I still have a sign for that too.
I do too. It's somewhere on my desk here.
It's across.
Where is it?
No, there was a heartbreaking moment where Farrell was put through a vision of seeing her sister drown again, and was once again unable to save her. I failed every strength check that Kevin gave me, because Farrell's dump stat is her strength, which makes sense for her backstory, that she kept failing the strength check and kept failing.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where...
There it is.
Yep, there it is. I have mine over there. Mine is blue and purple, like our tieflings. But there was a moment where she had to let go, and she did. And it was heartbreaking. It made my party cry. It made me cry. It was a very emotional time. And then Farrell coming to terms in that moment, at least putting it aside for the upcoming battle. We realized later that she did not put it entirely aside. But for the upcoming battle, when she put it aside, Tarek was the first one to pull her into a hug and check on her and see how she was doing, which is where it came from in the first place. Directly after that, me and Ben sat down and had a very in-depth conversation of if we were comfortable with them having this type of relationship, if it was going in that direction. because I think we even had some of that conversation on break
Yeah,
because
no, we literally had it like on break. I think everyone else like went off to get like drinks and stuff,
yeah, I
and
think
just
we
because
sat
it
there
was
for a second.
literally we were looking at chat, being like, haha, "Isn't that funny?"
They're shipping
How do we
us.
feel about this? Like, how do we feel about that?
And part of the reason that communication was so important is because both of us are in relationships with other people,
Mm,
which is where the separation of character and player has to
yes.
come in and why the communication is so important.
Oh
Because if
yeah.
something had happened where neither of us was comfortable or a partner was uncomfortable and we're having to deal with that aftermath, it is going to make
Hmm.
the game so much more stressful on everybody as a whole.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But
Because some people just do not have that separation, and that is a problem.
mhm.
Um, especially in situations like that. Like, yeah. So the communication is very important, and you should have it as soon as possible. And don't be afraid to have those kind of conversations because they are important.
They suck to have sometimes. Like
Oh yeah.
they're hard to have. But if you don't have that communication and you don't put the hard boundary of this is where my limits are, um,
Mm,
like, and little about safer work, but Tarek and Farrell have not slept together because,
nope.
one, there's no reason to. We don't need that on stream. And two, we've had the communication where even if it did happen, it would be very like, oh yeah, that happened. We're not going to really mention that because
Yeah.
that's a line
Yeah.
neither of us want to cross.
Yeah. We'd literally said. I remember we said this. We were like, if it happens, like it will be something that is probably never mentioned on stream unless something were to happen further with that, which I don't think it would. Um, but like if it were, it would literally be a case of just shooting each other a message, being like, "Did something happen? Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
okay,"
all right.
and that would be
And that
it.
would be it. It doesn't
And you
need to
guys
be
probably
developed
would never
further
know
into.
unless it like came up as something in game, which I can't see why it would.
Yeah.
Um, like yeah,
Have they
that's
kissed on stream? Absolutely, they
yes.
have. But it has
Mm,
been heartfelt moments where it mattered, where both of us
mm,
are DMing each other of, are we comfortable with the line that we've put in the sand? Cool.
mm.
Yes. All right. Cool. Then we can continue on. There's many a DM that goes on while we're on stream between me and Ben
Oh
of
yeah.
how is he feeling? How is she feeling about this? Are you feeling okay that this just happened? Up
Artellus
until
DMs.
I tell us yeah,
Yeah.
up until the point where they ultimately ended the relationship, which we were
Mm,
still DMing each other the entire time.
yeah.
With the communication that we had, of there was, oh, it was supposed to happen a week earlier than it did, and
Mm,
there was a lot of communication between the time that we decided that was the direction the relationship was going, and when it actually happened. There was even
yeah.
communication while we were on stream of now. Are we doing this now? Okay,
Are
we're
we
doing
doing
this
this now?
now.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
but
Which again is very important.
but like we were talking about earlier, the relationship started very naturally. It wasn't something we had forced. It was something the chat was really invested in. We were like, yeah, we're both comfortable with this. The
Yeah.
partners in our lives are comfortable with this because it's
Yeah.
not just between me and Ben or anybody else. One of my
Mm,
characters, one of Ben's characters may get into a relationship with. It's important to have the communication of your partner, your spouse, boyfriend, your girlfriend,
yes.
however they identify, because you don't want those hurt feelings coming up much later if that's not mentioned. I would hate to throw that onto somebody of, oh yeah, by the way, I'm playing this streamed character who's in this relationship with somebody else that you really don't know yet. Just so you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I think as well at the time when we first started it out, I think yeah, we were aware there was going to be a third one shot, and we were
Yeah.
like, that'll be it. Like we'll have this third one shot. Maybe something will happen. Maybe
Maybe
it
not.
won't. Like who knows? Like this was just the we okay. Like I think at that point it wasn't even a case of like, oh, are we okay with our relationship? Because we were like, well, we don't even know if that's going to happen or if there will even be time for it because there is literally a third one shot which is all combat based,
Yeah.
and that'll be it. And maybe there'll be a tiny bit of RP. This was a, are we okay with like the shipping and like, are we going to lean into that at all or
Mm-hmm.
like anything like that? Um,
But I was even having the initial conversation of, is this something we would even consider? It
yeah,
wasn't,
yeah,
this relationship. We were like, no, if this were to happen, is that even something we're
mm,
comfortable discussing?
yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. It was a good conversation, and like that's what ultimately led to in the third one shot at the very, very end was when when Tarek admitted his feelings and they kissed for the first time, and it was cute, and it was a great way to end it. And we
It
were like,
was wholesome
yeah,
as hell.
they
Their party was
shipping.
around them.
It's cute,
Well, and it was
and we thought that
adorable.
was gonna be it. We
No, it
literally
was
thought it was gonna
supposed
be
to
it.
be it. But no, it was such a good moment because in that third one shot, fighting the Prince of Frost, the combat that we had, I went down twice, and Farrell, you see Farrell sacrifice herself literally for Tarek of take me instead, which
Hmm.
was unbeknownst to Tarek until very recently when they had to
Yeah,
have the conversation where he
dude,
had a
yeah.
nightmare where it was him in her place instead. Um,
Hmm.
but the ending of that third one shot was them kissing because the rest of the party also was like, do it, just like kiss her, do it. Just like
We leaned into it so much in that third one shot though, because there had been time between it where we had discussions about it, and we were like, "Chat's gonna be shipping it. Let's lean into it." Because like when Farrell went down with the first time, she like called out for Tarek, and like
oh yeah,
when they both went down, we said that their hands fell onto each other. So we were like,
we're like but
"It's
we
so
also were like,
sad."
yeah, this the third one shot. This is the only chance we're gonna get to play out this relationship. We were wrong. A
Uh,
year later,
a year later.
but
Uh,
but these were all beautiful moments. And then you see us start off the actual campaign, where
yes.
it starts off where Farrell and Tarek have a house together,
Mm,
and she runs to him after months and months of not seeing him, and throws herself in his arms. And it's a beautiful picture, and the way that Kevin described it is absolutely stunning. It was such a cute moment.
yeah, it was so good.
Um, and there was the communication even going into the campaign because me and Ben were like, so we kind of leaned really hard
So
into that.
yeah, what's gonna happen
Because
here?
then we had to have the conversation of, is this something we want to continue? Because they didn't see each
Mm,
other for months and months and months. It was, okay, yeah, they had that cute moment, they kissed, but is this a relationship that was going to continue? Did they date a little
mm.
while and realize that they didn't want to be together? I think we had like a 2 or 3 hour conversation where we sat
Yeah,
down
we
and
absolutely did.
went over
Yeah,
everything.
it was like cool. What have they like?
Hi,
What have
Faith.
they done? What have they,
Yeah.
what communications have they had? Where have they been? What have they been up to?
How
How far
often?
has their relationship progressed? Have they done things like where what have they done?
Where are
Like
they?
yeah, like where are they? What is how are they in their relationship? And we spent a lot of time building that together, making sure we were all very comfortable with it, and how it was, how it could progress, and like where it had progressed to throughout the like the 6 months between the end of the third one shot and the beginning of the campaign.
Because it had been
um
6 months of, oh, you
mhm,
just fought the Prince of Frost. Where are they 6 months later? Which is a
yeah,
long time, especially because the relationship was long distance that entire time. Or at least for the
yeah,
majority of it, where Tarek would come
yeah, I
home
think the first
occasionally.
3 months was kind of like spending time
Yeah,
together, getting the house, having some time, and then I think after like 3 months, Tarek was kind of called to deal with Prince of Frost stuff. So
Asgard.
it was long distance for about 3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we had a very long and in-depth conversation of, okay, where are we standing? Because not only do we want to be comfortable, we also don't want to make chat uncomfortable. Everything needs to be on a level
Mm.
that we are okay with, which also
Partners as well.
includes, yeah, which also
Um,
includes a lot of trust in each other that we're going to not overstep a boundary
yeah.
or do something a character to another character that would be not okay or
Yes.
anything. The consent has to be there, but also the trust between the
Mm.
players, because
Yeah.
I put a lot of trust in you, Ben, and I know that you do the same for me,
Yeah.
that Farrell's not
Yeah.
going to act a certain way towards Tarek unless
Mm.
previously discussed in private between the two
Yeah.
of us of where our lines are.
Because that's something we've done as well. Is like there have been times on stream where you guys might have been like, where you may have seen an interaction between the two of them, like when they kissed on screen for the first time in the campaign, not in the one shots.
Where they were sitting in the
Um,
hallway.
yeah, we were literally DMing back and forth whilst on stream about what we wanted to do, where we wanted it to go, how like what it was going to be, what that interaction was going to mean, and all of that. Like we were having that conversation
While
at the
it's
time. Like I
happening.
think we talked about it previously, like the possibility of it happening, because obviously you got to have those kind of things. But like obviously with D&D, these kind of things just come up. Like we don't know if and when these situations are going to happen because it's
Especially
all
with a
improv.
DM like Kevin who throws
Um,
things
yeah.
wildly.
Um, but we literally were just DMing back and forth, and like there is always communication going on that you guys don't see. So whilst it might seem like, oh, we just know everything immediately, we're just like, yeah, this will be fine. Even though like we are both very cautious people as well, with all of this communication, like we are always messaging each other back and forth, like on stream, off stream, like they're pretty much after every single session we would have of the like we had talks like between the end of the third one shot and the campaign starting,
Oh yeah.
but
Same.
after pretty much every session we sat down of the campaign, we sat down, the two of us, like we'd have our like debrief chat with everyone, as everyone does after streams, and then we'd like hop off, and then the two of us would jump into a call and talk about it and be like, cool, did we like this thing, we like that thing, this thing I wasn't too sure about, all of that. And we literally would sit down for probably like 30 minutes to an hour after every session and talk about it.
Well, and some of
And
that
it was
comes from
great.
that first kiss that you see in a campaign, where they're sitting in the hallway having that conversation, which was very wholesome and cute. It was a very sweet moment between the two of them. The chat that day had been like, "Oh, I was hoping they'd sleep in the same bed," and I was like, "That's so funny." That chat is like, "Damn it!" Like they're not cuddling or anything else. But these characters, though they are characters, also live a life of their own, where they have their own feelings that me and Ben have very specifically made them a certain way. Yeah, you do see them cuddle much later on when they're in, when they're on their way to Bryn Shander from Waikiki. You see a very quick, and it's hardly mentioned, Farrell just steals the blankets. And burritos after Tarek goes on his watch and he comes back and he's like, okay, you have to like let me have a blanket. She's like, no, I'm warm. And they just
No, I am burrito.
And yeah, she just burritos herself and she steals the blankets, but which is very much a self-insert because I like.
And I forgot about that, and now I need a feral blanket burrito fan up.
Just her face. Screw
Yep.
all the badass artwork of her. We'll just get her bundled in the boy. But it happened very naturally, where it was very briefly mentioned, where Tarek then was like, okay, well, at least like let me lay down, and he laid down. They snuggled for a second. Not a big deal. You move on. But we have never once tried to make it that, oh yeah, they're gonna sleep in the same bed. But
Hey guys, they're gonna like, oh, scandalous. My.
not
My,
no
my.
angels in my Christian Minecraft.
Oh.
But
The boots stay on during snuggling.
I want that as a shirt that on the back just says Ferric. But the communication has to be there, because if not, we're gonna put ourselves in a very awkward position. It's gonna be awkward for everybody else on stream. I would hate for my fellow party members outside of Ben to be like, well, that was really awkward.
Yeah.
Which brings up that you have to trust the rest of your party members, because you also, even while your character might be in a relationship with another character or an NPC, you have to have the communication with the rest of your party members that they are also comfortable with the situation that's happening.
Yeah.
Yes, if a situation is to happen, whether it's an NPC and a PC, or two PCs or two NPCs that the DM is playing, the boundary has to be put in place of, this is how this relationship is going to look, and this is how it's going to play out, and here are the things I'm comfortable having at the table. And if something comes up later on that you're like, oh, wow, that was really awkward, I'm not comfortable with that, the communication still stands that you have to talk to whoever was involved. Like, hey, by the way, that was a little uncomfy for me. I didn't know that at the time. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that so it doesn't happen in the future. But you have to be willing to put in the effort and the time and the communication for that to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, like even if like the thing is as well is that I know there will be some people who go, oh, I don't need to know that because we all like know each other like super well and like we know like where our boundaries are. Do it anyway, because things change, and like even if it's something that has previously happened, people change their minds on things. Like if like in a game you're like, oh, these two characters are gonna like sleep together or whatever, and we're gonna mention it in the game. It's like, and like, is everyone cool with this? And like at the time, everyone's like, yeah, I guess so. And then it comes up again. Still check with people because it's like, well, boundaries may change,
Well,
comfortabilities
a
may change.
prime
Like communication
example.
is very important
A
all the
prime,
time.
well, and a prime example of that, like a PC and an NPC is Toon and Julia Stana,
Mm,
which is cute and precious for the most part. However, this past Monday we got to see a little bit of the fade to black, which is okay, because we all kind of saw where that was headed. It was very obvious. And
mm.
it wasn't a, oh yeah, they're doing this thing, like there wasn't a description. It was, oh yeah, you just see two bats fly off. Well, that's weird. Okay, continue on. That's it. That's all it had to be. It was cute.
Mm.
It was funny. It was lighthearted enough. But also got the point across where no one felt like, that's really illicit. I'm uncomfortable with
Yeah.
hearing that. It was, you just see two bats fly off. Oh well,
Mm.
okay. It was made of a
My
joke.
my.
Oh well, scandalous. It was more made of a joke than anything. I just want to get Griffin a pin that says bats. Scandalous.
Two bats chilling in a tree,
But
5 feet apart, because fade to black.
because fade to black. But that's why it's so important to have those conversations, because if that was to happen and had been awkward for Griffin or
Mm.
anybody else sitting at the table, if it had happened for Toon and John was sitting there like, oh, that was really awkward. That
Yeah.
puts a weird feeling at the table for everybody else. It's an awkward conversation to have. So just have the conversations initially. Get the boundaries out there. Let everyone know where your lines are. And if somebody crosses one accidentally, then have the hard talk of, hey, you crossed a boundary with me.
Mm.
But it's important to have that because with Tarek and Farrell, their relationship has been rocky, to say the least.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's been a lot of up and downs, not just
Arc one,
relationship.
yeah, everything's great and they're so wholesome and it's so cute. Arc two, boom.
We lied.
We lied.
That's
It's awful.
That's the well, and it's not, but it's because not only is there the relationship of those two, there's everything happening around them. And I think I think it's important to remember that just like a real life relationship, you're gonna go through things, and it changes how you view your relationship. It changes the dynamic with your partner, no matter who they are, or partners. It changes the dynamic between everybody of how things play out. I think a prime example is the relationship of Lilith and Salil, and the relationship of Tarek and Farrell. These are two very, very different relationships because for
Yes.
a year and a half that Farrell / Lilith was in a relationship with Salil, it was very much a honeymoon phase of it was easy. There was not the hard things to deal with because it was like, oh yeah, we're a traveling bar troupe. We sing, like we dance, we do our thing. We make ends meet. Like we're getting up there in how well we're known, etc. It was easy up until the point where Lilith decided to pick up that dagger and make that choice. And then it was hard because reality set in. You see Tarek and Farrell, who had to go through this very hard combat, this very hard and rocky situation in the first place, where you see Tarek have to make the decision to become better than he was, become worthy. And you see Farrell still struggling with the fact that she had made that decision and had begged for that job to get back into that lifestyle. Along with the progression of how Beyond the Realms has progressed up until this point, which has been extremely rocky.
Oh my god.
Starting with the knock of Ramira on their door the day that he came back. And they were called to Wagon Ski to go deal with Mr. Fiend. And unbeknownst to them, all of the Obelix.
Yeah. It was wild.
But
it was
those
wild.
are two very good examples of two very different relationships between a PC and an NPC that was in the backstory to two PCs who are having to communicate and play out these rough situations. It's important too because we have the third, which is the Rhaenyra and the Fiend relationship, which is strictly a platonic friendship that gets shipped
Yeah.
so often, but
Chat, y'all need to chill. The chat boner really needs to chill. It's
can we do
y'all
that
need
as
to
an emote?
calm
Can we
down.
do that as an emote for the dice group sandwich? Like a little. I need this. I'm gonna talk to Jordy. But even the communication of Saf and John, as the players of Rhaenyra and Fiend, have had the conversation of, is this something we see for them? No, it's not. Because this is how Rhaenyra thinks. This is how Rhaenyra is played out. This is how Mr. Fiend thinks and how he is played out. That those two are unlikely to become a thing until that boundary is brought up again and rediscussed. But there's still the communication of, this is a platonic friendship. And that's okay, because you have to have those two. Not everybody can be shipped, sadly.
Exactly.
But up until very recently, Tarek and Farrell had to deal with trying to figure
A
out
lot.
their entire relationship while dealing with everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. It was yeah, and the communication during that time got a lot more intense. Like during arc 1, like communication was just like, ah yeah, this was nice, this was fun, blah blah blah. But after every session of like arc 2, when like the Salil stuff hit and it was like, oh, there's an X you've not told me about as both character and player, because it was backstory stuff, so I didn't know about Salil at all. I got no warning about that. Which is like fine, but the important thing to do after that is then the very important communication that comes with that of the, hey, yeah, so this is a very complex situation. And that is something that we've been able to do, and we've spent a lot of time talking about, is going through this very rocky, difficult relationship dynamic, because it was a very real thing. Like it was like, okay, cool. This NPC that was very important to my character in the past has shown up. They still don't know how they feel about that. Hey, you know how everything was like perfect and dandy over here? It's not anymore. And we're gonna have to deal with that one now.
Well, and you can see that. Oh, stretch. And you can see that played out of how important the communication that we had is when we came back from that moment where Farrell was staring up at Salil and called him for singing that song about her, which was not portraying her in a very good way. Where Tarek was sitting outside and he asks, who are you? Because up until that point, he had only known Farrell as Farrell. He didn't know Lilith. He didn't know...
Who is this Lilith person?
Who is this Lilith? It was a very interesting and hard conversation to have between the two, because she was like, I'm just me, and that wasn't good enough at the time, because he had been lied to. He hadn't been told entirely of who these people to her were. Up until that point, it had been oh yeah, like I met you at Zafes, I met you on this heist that we had been on. You had sought me. It wasn't a concern of, oh yeah, there's this ex in your life that you apparently still had feelings for that you never mentioned. And so the moment where you see Ben ask the question of who really are you was something that was previously discussed between the two of us, because there needed to be my preparation mentally, because along with the communication, the mental health and the fortitude that you have to have for those conversations is a lot.
Yeah, it was a very heavy topic that we decided to, explore. And like, because the thing is that like, if it had genuinely been too much for us, we would have been like, okay, we'll work out a way to just kind of like put this to the side and like we'll work it out in game. But we talked about it. We were like, okay, this is gonna be rough, but it's a good conversation to have, and we can like, because the thing is as well is that their communication in game, whilst it was there, was very bits and pieces, very rocky. Farrell definitely kept a lot of stuff to herself and made it clear that she was going to keep a lot of stuff to herself, which sucked for Tarek, because he's like, well, I want to know what the hell's going on outside of game, completely different. Like the communication we had about it was very open and very clear, and was like, I'll tell you as much as I can without spoilers. Like it was the communication of like telling you, kind of like keeping us in the loop as to what's going on, but also being like, but are you still okay? Like, is this good? Is this okay? Like, it's a lot to like put on, on the characters, but also on the players as well. Like, it's very much a like, cool. This is a very big subject that we're now going to explore. Are you good with this? And we talked about that. We spent a lot of time talking about that, and eventually we were like, yeah, we can absolutely do this. Like, it's something. And at that point, we were like, we don't know where this will go, but we will see.
I think that really shines through in the moment where after they'd come back inside and Farrell had drinking and was playing darts with Salil, nearly beat him at darts, and Tarek was off to one side, and afterwards they went up to the room. And before this had even happened, me and Ben had the conversation of what are they going to talk about today, because they have to have a conversation. And
what state of mind are they going to be in?
What state of mind are they going to be in was probably one of the most common questions we ask each other is.
Yeah. Do you know what? One of the things I very specifically remember asking you as something as a player I give concern about to people in real life when communicating with people after they've done this is like, Veryl's having a couple of drinks, hasn't she? So she's going to be influenced a little bit. Like, not saying she's going to be drunk, but like she might be a little more open and a little more harsh than she might mean to be, because alcohol does that to you. And as someone who is hyper aware of how alcohol affects people in real life, I personally don't drink myself because I don't like the effect it has on people.
But you had specifically asked me.
I had specifically asked you, it's like,
how many has she had, and is she going
how many
to be
she had,
harsher than
and
normal?
is it gonna, yeah.
And I said, you are correct. Yes, she is going to be harsher to him than normal.
Mm-hmm. Hydrate.
Really
but like,
hydrates in the yeah. Thank you for taking care of us.
Thank you. But no, that was a very important discussion we had. And we're like, yeah, this is a state of mind they're going to be in. This conversation is probably going to suck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and like, you know,
it was a
and it did. It was real bad. It was like a real bad, like, yeah. And the thing is, as well, is that like at the time, again, we were messaging each other back and forth, like, are you doing good? Is this okay? Like, and then like right after it finished, just immediately like in Teller's chat, just being like, that was really good. You did really well.
Proud of you.
Are you feeling okay?
Like,
everything's good. Proud of you. Like, that was hard. Love you, friend. All of that. Like, you know, it was.
You could probably track the campaign through our DMs, honestly. You could
yeah.
probably see what happened.
Dude, I wish it archived Telus DMs. I really did. I really wish they were archived, because
you can in that moment where you see Tarek and Farrell have that really hard conversation. One of the key points that you had asked me, Ben, before we even went on stream, because I think we had talked the day before and the day of, if I remember correctly, we had taken 30 minutes before, like we even had tech check to double check how we were going to play this out. Because you'd asked me in the hotel room if they were going to share a room, and I was like, in all honesty, probably not, because she's upset. There's a lot going on, and I knew that she had considered leaving. And John, it was really funny, had tried to bring a wrench between the two of us, where he threw them 2 keys. Little did he know, he was just having us avoid the awkward, can we have 2 keys? Because we had already previously discussed it, so when it happened, we both went, oh cool, we don't have to deal with that.
Nice.
And that was a very difficult conversation, because it was the, who are you? Once again, it was the, you didn't tell me everything, and I need you to. And there was a lot that they discussed in that moment. And at the end of it, she got up and she left. It didn't need to be we're gonna fix everything right now in this moment. It was a communication of, this is the conversation we're gonna have, it's gonna suck, and then we're gonna move on and deal with everything else. And
it was the communication of like what our character motivations are, because I like with the, oh yeah, like not everything's gonna get fixed now. It's like, cool, yeah, obviously not everything's gonna get fixed now, but that is going to be Tarek's goal, and how I'm going to up it is cool. Let's fix everything right now in this moment because this sucks. I know as a player that's not going to happen, but that is how Tarek would have wanted to deal with it in that moment and in that situation. He was like, I want to fix this because I don't want this to suck. Oh God, no. And yeah, like we had conversations. Not like you like this is the thing as well. It's like because a lot of people try to, when it comes to lack of communication reasons, people try to put it on, oh, but I don't want to like spoil things, make it like unnatural. And it's like, you don't have to tell people exactly what you're going to do. Like you just have to plan out vaguely where things are going to end up. Like I remember you dropped a big line on me during that conversation. You hadn't told me about that. You'd just been like, by the way, she's going to say some things that are going to fucking hurt.
Like they're going to hurt you.
I got a warning that something was coming, so it didn't just blindside me. I just didn't know what it was.
But you knew something was going to be mentioned.
Yeah. And again, as soon as it happened, straight after the conversation was done, it was just in DMs immediately just being like,
what was the line, Ben? What got you, huh?
My brain is struggling to remember. Please tell me what it was. Oh God. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Where she wanted answers because Tarek had not told her, and she's like, "If you want to talk to me about not."
Oh no, it wasn't that one. No, it was the "I don't need you in my life."
Oh yeah.
That was.
Okay. Oh yeah, it was that one. I had told you that it was going to hurt because anxiety brain always will tell you one thing or another.
Oh yeah.
So in that moment, and you can find the clips because they exist and they are watched often, I've noticed. It was Farrell telling Tarek that I don't need you in my life. If you're in my life, it's because I want you there, but I don't need you. And Tarek took that in a very different direction.
Tarek takes things very literally, and he heard the first bit, and then brain just went brr. Like he heard the "I don't need you in my life," and it was like, oh fuck. And it was like getting the full meaning out of what she was saying was lost on him, but that's just because of how he is.
You knew though.
Yeah, but I knew. I was like, okay, yeah, no, that was good. And like also as well, like afterwards, like we talked about it. It was like, okay, so what does that line fully mean for them? And I like
talks,
that was one of our longest talks. That was properly when this had like first come up. Because it was like that was literally like session, like the session straight after like the introduction to Saluk. So it was the introduction to Saluk. It's like, oh, who is this person? And then it was that session that we found out that there was someone you had a previous relationship with, and then that's when that conversation happened. And yeah, like we were like, okay, cool, like this is a conversation we're gonna have. And we had the conversation, and like that line was given, and then like straight after the session we had a big long talk about like what that means, how certain characters have received it, so we as players are not surprised when someone says something. It's like, I thought we talked about this and that wasn't what that meant, but it's how the character's taking it versus how the player is taking it. And then yeah, because their communication was very off, but ours as players was completely like, we know exactly what's going on.
Communication on stream as characters is very askew compared to real life, but which is an important thing, because you as the players don't need to tell everything to each other, but at least give a general idea. That way, if I was to say, hey Ben, something is like coming next week, just so you know, like something big's gonna happen, and leave it at that, Ben's gonna freak out for the next week.
Oh god.
Oh god, issue. But we see a very rocky relationship up until this point. But the communication between me and Ben and our friendship's still strong.
Absolutely.
And then we get to last week. Or this week, I guess. Well, last week and then this week.
Well, yeah, last week was kind of, yeah.
You get to last week's session, where you finally see Farrell come... Well, Farrell pulling Tarek aside, and Tarek asking the very harsh question of,
which we had previously discussed as well. Like that was, I'm not going to drop this on you, Ivy, but by the way, this is how we had a discussion about how we wanted to do it. And we were like, cool, this is how it will go. And Ivy was very aware that was coming.
And
The other players had no idea, which was great.
the
You
DM.
could tell, like, what the fuck?
The very real looks on their faces, those were accurate, which is why you didn't see me react in like an out of character way. It was because I knew what was coming. Because Tarek and Farrell stepped off to one side before they talked to Odin, because they are in Asgard currently, and Tarek asked the very harsh but real question of, with everything going on lately, do you still love me? And which is a very hard and overwhelming question had I not known what was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had discussed 2 weeks prior what was going to be coming.
Mm-hmm.
Where me and Ben went into a one-on-one conversation of, this is where the relationship is going to be. Because Farrell, with the introduction of Slow, realized that she had never let herself heal. She had jumped into another relationship to ignore the previous one and did not actually work out any of her issues and was dragging something else down with her. And so the very real reactions of everybody else's faces when they realized what was happening was that it was finally come to a head of them. They were breaking up, at least in that sense. Were very real. But me and Ben, and it took a lot for us not to laugh because we knew what was happening. We knew that it was happening.
I had to look away from Tellus because I saw the flailing arms.
I did too.
I was like,
you can see me on the clip, look down. It was because I was trying not to giggle because of Kevin's face going.
Like I'm fully in character. I was just like, okay, and everyone else is just like,
yeah, it was, but it became a very pivotal moment in their now friendship and relationship as a whole. That though they were breaking up, that though she had, and she apologized. She was like, I brought you into a relationship and I wasn't ready. I wasn't healed, and I'm sorry for that. That she isn't ready for anything else at the moment, because she still does have feelings for 2 men in her life now and doesn't know how to handle that because she's not in a place for that. But me and Ben's,
we haven't even gotten started on how she feels about the moon.
I was gonna say, don't get me started. The moon is radiant and thick. But we had that conversation where it was supposed to happen a week earlier than it actually did, and we were like, do we we don't do this right now. This doesn't work right now. Because it needs to be very natural on stream or in your game. It can't just be like, they're breaking up right now, instantaneously.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a drama thing. It wasn't in front of the rest of the party. It was me and Ben having a very pivotal moment of our two characters who decided that right now is not the time for this. And there was a lot of stuff that they both need to work through. A lot of stuff that she needs to work through, and him. And that's okay, because me and Ben's communication levels are not going to change just because our two characters are now no longer in that type of relationship. Because it was Tarek asking, I can still talk to you, right? Of course, that's what friendship is. And that is what we had decided off stream what this was going to become. At least for a while, or indefinitely, however it plays out, because we want it to be a natural progression, however it plays out.
We'll just see how it goes. Definitely something. I mean, you saw it last week with kind of at the end of that session, and then also last week, we saw the good communication between them of like when Tarek was going to go leave to have his vision with Nakari. Farrell kind of was just like, I'm here if you need me, like, which again for like the last arc has like not been a thing, because they've been like, we're just like kind of just trying to awkwardly work things out right now. I'm just gonna like not look at you.
But we as the players removed
the
label and said they'll be better as characters without this label that we're currently putting on them.
Yeah.
Which speaks a lot to how a real life relationship plays out. Of sometimes friendship is better than that type of relationship. But even then, there's the communication between the two of them. That okay, we're not together like that, but we're still friends, and that's okay. Yeah.
Still real good friends, best of friends. We're not going separate ways. Yeah, like that's something I've said, is that like I think as characters, to be perfectly honest, the way they're gonna be in terms of like their communication and being better than they have been for like this last like arc's worth of time,
Yeah.
some people might not even notice. Like some people like it's not like we're gonna make a big thing out of it and just like go to everyone and be like, we broke up. It's literally like it would be like a if it
Like, we're
comes
gonna
up,
throw
like
a whole
obviously we're
party.
not gonna lie about it, but like until then, it's like it's a need to know thing. It's like cool. We're not gonna bring everyone else down by being like, oh, by the way, this happened.
No, Ben, we're
Because
gonna wait till
Toon
everybody.
will immediately be like, listen here, Tarek. This is how you do it. Hey, you gotta win her back, Toon. This is not the time. Listen here.
Oh no!
Oh no. Ah.
I'm just gonna clip this entire moment for Griffin. But it doesn't need to be a big thing. That's the whole thing. Is I'm gonna make this joke. We could throw a whole party at our new house and be like, have a banner that just says "We broke up," but you don't need to. That's the whole point. Is the communication is there? There are no hurt feelings between me and Ben. Our characters are not we're going to revolve around relationships that no longer exist. But
exactly.
if I had thrown it on you mid-session of, by the way, Farrell's breaking up with Tarek, like right now, like that's happening.
Yeah, that would have been like, whoa, what the fuck? What?
Which is why the communication is so important between two people playing characters, and the making it a comfortable space not only for yourselves but the other members at your table and the DM.
Yeah.
Not only Kevin would have wanted to deal with me and you at odds because our characters are breaking up. Like,
oh yeah.
Highlight dumps out on you. He'd been like, you can't.
But also as well, I think he would have felt bad if like it had ended so badly because of and even though it was in your backstory, an NPC he had reintroduced to the game and had made the way they were, and been like, yeah, whoops, did I cause this? Oh no. Yeah, it would not have been a fun situation.
Which is why the communication, not only between players, but the table and the DM, is one of the most important things that you can have. Whether it's a relationship that's being discussed, or just what you're comfortable with, or your phobias, or something that was said in game, streamed or not, of why this is so important, which is why those TTRPG consent forms comes in, which is where direct communication comes in. I know, we and Ben stand the TTRPG consent forms. If you don't use them, I highly recommend. They are in our Discord pins. Use it.
It's so good. It literally, like, there are things on there that you wouldn't even think about, and you can add your own things as well. So even if there's not stuff on there, but there's like phobias that you have or like things you feel the need to clarify that you are okay with, there are extra boxes that you can add. You can put like you don't even have to put like yes, no. There is like a which I always, whenever I've done it, I've always gone through and I've discussed every time someone's put a yellow on it. I have discussed with those players as a DM. I have discussed with the players individually. I'm like, okay, so you put a yellow on this thing. Mind expanding on it for me? Like in like session zeros and stuff like that. It's really good because it helps you. It helps you realize. Yeah, it helps you realize like what players are okay with, what players are not okay with, what things to avoid, what things you can do. All of that, and then it's a good way to learn a lot more about your players and your characters and everything as well.
The communication between a player, and if there's something red that they don't want to communicate about, they're just like, I put a red on that, and I'd rather not discuss it. That's okay. Now you know there's a red. It may be something.
Yeah, reds I don't question.
Yeah,
reds I'm like, cool.
And
you said no.
I never thought of it. It may just be because a common one that people have a phobia with that most people don't realize is eyes. It's like, oh yeah, I have a problem with eyeballs. Okay, great, cool. You put a red
eyeballs
on
is a red on mine.
Yep, you put a red on that. Cool, I won't touch that. Cool. That's all it needs to be. But there's the communication there and the boundary set that that's not okay.
And you just gotta respect those because like that's the thing with it as well.
We're supposed to respect communication and boundaries.
Yeah, God, respect boundaries and respect what's written on your RPG consent form. What?
But we do
it's almost like communication.
Communication is key to a lot of things. Honestly, a lot of hurt and a lot of confusion is avoided, which is a basic level of communication between party members, between DMs, between whoever else is coming in as a guest, whoever else is going to be playing. Just the communication, honestly.
We've seen it too many times where clearly people haven't had that communication and it's ended really badly, and we're like, yep, cool. You guys clearly didn't talk to each other, huh?
But TTRPG consent form, it's on the Trove. It is pinned in the Nerds D&D and Dorks Discord. If you need it, you can DM me as well. Highly recommend. It's a PDF that you just send to your players and have them fill out. It's super easy. Your session zeros are important, and just a basic level of communication. Even if you send out a message to your players or a little survey that's like, how am I doing? How are we doing? Any feedback? Let's be open to the criticism of your players and your DM if there's something you've done. But you gotta be open to that level of communication as well as the criticism. Whether it's an in-game relationship of two PCs or NPCs or PC and NPC, just have it.
Just absolutely. You just gotta do that. Communication is very important.
As for Tarek and Farrell, they could probably figure out a little more how to do that.
Yeah. Like, that's I love that hilarious dynamic that we just have, where it's just like, yes, we are two characters who are trying to work out how basic communication works, and then me and Ivy, who are like the best of friends at this point, are literally just like, hey, so like
they good
communication and shit. Like, like we know them better than they know themselves, like straight up. Like it's great. We know the shit inside and out. It's really important and really good to just have all of that there, have that communication, get it all out, doing it often as well, because that's the thing as well. Is it's not just the having the communication, it's the consistent communication as well. Because if it changes, like, things can change. Like, it can change all the time. You can say yes to one thing at one point, and then you're like, actually, I'm not okay with this thing anymore. Or actually, I didn't realize that was a boundary I had. Because sometimes, it'll be like, oh, are you okay with this thing? And you haven't experienced it before. And you're like, well, I haven't had any problems with it previously, so I guess so. And then it comes up and you're like, actually, never mind. Just consistent communication as well. Very, very, very important with, fellow players, table, DM, if it's a relationship, your partners as well. Like, yeah.
Man, how awkward though that conversation been.
Huh?
With your partner. With our partners. Life limits and comforts are not consistent. That is a good one. Thank you, Library of Lost Tales. You are wonderful, and we love you dearly. I think we've driven in this topic as best we can. Anything else you want to add? Do we have
any questions from chat about?
We've been very open about how our Tarek and Farrell are compared to how me and you are, which is two very different things.
Oh boy. Yeah. Questions from anyone who would like to know how they're doing.
Have fun together, not feel icky.
True. That is, TLDR of this hour-long stream at this point. We want to have fun together, not feel icky.
Thank you, Library.
That is, we could have just started up the stream and just said that and been like, cool, we're done. Peace.
Cool, we're done. Bye. Peace. Bye. It's going to be interesting to see how they progress, though. I really am curious.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's this is how they are now. We've told you guys how they are at the minute. This is your guys' kind of like insight as to how we are as players with the situation, how they are as characters with the current situation. Things could change all the time. We don't know. It depends how the game goes. It depends how backstory stuff goes. Depends how everything is put together, what conversations are had, all of that.
We actually have one question from the Library of Lost Tales, who we love very much. How do you handle X cards or stops in your stream games? So in-game safety tools, like if someone wants to throw up an X. We've had that actually. One specific thing comes to mind.
Yes.
With another player. I won't name player.
Yes.
Or the exact episode or anything, but there was an instance where something was not mentioned previously before a game that was going to be a large part of the session. that a player actually had a large trigger to that they thought they were going to
Mm.
be okay with. It was very obviously on stream that they were not. Um, what happened was we got it to a place, we kind of did a route around that and took a very early
Mm.
break because just the
Yeah.
entire demeanor of the player was not where it should have been. It was very
Mm.
obviously a player in distress and a person in distress that they could not continue on with what was about to transpire. But just the mere demeanor, we knew that it was not going to happen. So we circumvented a lot of what was about to happen, and the DM, being our lovely DM, and being able to improv on the fly, change things very quickly.
Mm.
Um,
We.
Normally, if we have an issue while on stream, I know in my own DMing, as Ben is a baby DM who does not stream his games, but as a
Yeah.
DM who does stream my games most of the time, um, I always have a one-on-one before stream with all of my players and let them know, hey, if there's an issue of any type, well, okay, let me backtrack a little. First off, we fill out a TTRPG consent form. Before I
Mm.
even let anybody on my streams, I want to know, because while I'm writing the one shot or session or whatever else, I want to know what your limits are. Two,
Mm-hmm.
when they enter the streaming space for the first time, or whether they are returning or anything else, let them know, hey, if you have an issue, DM me, send me an X, let me know you're struggling. Anything else, walk away. If I see you get up and walk away, just throw it up an X, let me know you're struggling. If something's not okay, my chat is open. I keep my chats open. And I
Mm-hmm.
very much allow myself of, hey, if you're having a problem, let me know, we can go to an early break.
Yeah.
You
Tell
guys
us
can
chat is
always
there.
take an
Discord chat is
early
there.
break. It's okay.
Mm.
If you, as a player or as a DM, need to stop and walk away for a second because you're struggling with
Take multiple breaks if you need.
take multiple breaks. But if you, as a DM, realized, wow, I'm DMing this, but I am uncomfortable with something that's come up, pause. It's okay. Throw up an X.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, so I'm not feeling the greatest about this moment. Be honest. Honesty is such a large part of this whole communication thing, along
Yeah.
with the trust and the boundaries. Be honest how you're feeling, because you can avoid a lot of those triggers when you're honest. And
Yeah.
but making sure that you are open to criticism, you're open to seeing the DMs or the messages from your players or DM, something that's making them uncomfortable. Just having those limits. There's I can think of a specific stream that me and the Library of Lost Tales were on for two different sessions where they had posted all of our lines and veils in the chat. Um, but yeah, just tell them you need a second to figure out how something's going to work. Tell them, hey, we're just going to take a quick break. I need to refill my coffee, my water, whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
At least when it's a streamed game, don't do it in such a way that makes everybody else nervous or uncomfortable. Just be like, hey,
Yeah.
we're going to take an early break. I just need to like step off for a moment or
Yeah.
whatever else. You saw it with one of my games where we ended after an hour and a half because I was like, we're going to go on break. We went on break. I told my girls I was struggling to see because I had a migraine. Could not see.
Mm.
It could have been as easy as one of my girls throwing me a message that said, hey, I'm uncomfortable with something that has just come up. Can we go on an early break? It's okay.
Yeah.
For Ben, it's a little easier since when you are not doing a streamed game,
Mm.
player messages you, you can quickly say, hey guys, we're going to take a break.
Yeah. And that's something as well. Like with stream games, obviously you don't want to make it like a big thing because everyone is watching. But when you're doing a home game where it's just you guys, like you should not feel like you have the whole bag. If something is literally a problem, like don't be afraid to speak up and be like, hey, so this thing is not sure about this. Do you mind if we skip over this? And that should like
Hi, DM Lair.
your how you feel. Hey DM Leia, what up?
What's up, Luke?
Hello.
We are
Hello, these
talking
lovely
about
people.
consent and communication in the
Mm.
TTRPG and D&D space of what a character relationship looks like, as well as
Yeah.
NPC and player, as well as just having a strong level of communication at your tables, with your DMs, with each other, making sure the trust, the communication, and the boundaries are there, and there's a level of respect. So welcome in. It's good to see you
Welcome,
guys. I hope you
guys.
guys had
Good to
a
see
good
you all.
stream.
Yeah,
Luke is wonderful. To anybody who's in our chat that does not follow the DM layer, Luke is
please
phenomenal.
do.
They have like 7 cats. I love them
Mm,
dearly. Luke is a phenomenal DM himself. They do streams. Give them some support. They're great. But
please do.
anyways, Ben.
Ah,
So would it
uh,
be okay for a barbarian to tame the beholder? That sort of thing. Well, as long as there's consent, I guess. Luke.
exactly.
The
Exactly.
communication of it depends on who's playing the beholder and the barbarian. Are these 2 NPCs or these 2 PCs?
True.
Um,
But it's the community. It's if everyone is okay with it being the players and the NPC, but also again all the players at your table, because that is the thing, is that like it's not just the people involved, because everyone is involved. That is the thing. At the
everyone's
table,
involved.
everyone is involved, and when it's a streamed game, the chat is included in
The
that.
chat
Like
is
obviously,
included.
obviously you can only do that to a certain level, but like obviously you can have warnings on streams like, by the way, a touchy subject may be about to come up, so if this is a thing that you're not okay with, you might want to step out.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, exactly, like trigger warnings. But also as well, like just like keeping it to a certain level. Like again, like I think a lot of streamed games, people are like, yeah, this is gonna be like PG-13. Like that's just like, I think that's probably like the general rule, or like teen, I guess, of like, yeah, we're not gonna make it weird. We're not gonna.
Make it weird.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. Like, yeah, there's a certain level of kind of respect that you have to have for who could be watching and who could come across the stream. You know, you just got to be very kind of careful with the subjects that you're.
Does happen.
Mm.
Fade to black is always an option.
Yes, exactly.
And a DM is always, you are always allowed to say no. And with everything else in real life as well, the answer is always no, unless otherwise given a yes.
Exactly.
The answer is always no. Unless previously discussed, the answer is no. Unless there's a direct level of yes, this is okay. But
and that's where the RPG consent form is great.
Once again, our RPG
that gets
consent forms,
your
our
yeses
session zeros, our trust and high levels of communication with your DMs and other players.
Session zeros are so important.
Session zeros. So do your session zeros, do your consent forms, have a high level of conversation. Like,
yep.
Make sure that what you're talking about is productive as well. Because you could say, oh, I see that you have on here your Ben, I see on here that your RPG consent form that you seem to have an issue with eyeballs. Okay, great. And then if I see that you've skipped, like if you've put yellows on certain things, I just skip over like the fade to blacks or anything else. I'll just be like, yellow's great. But don't ask you, so what are you comfortable with? Or, hey, if this was to happen, would you be comfortable with that? If I'm just going to ignore certain aspects of it, what's the
For me,
point?
with yellows, I try and like be like, is there any way, like if you're okay with discussing it, are there specific things about it that have made you put it as a yellow rather than a red? Because if it was a red, I'd be like, okay, cool, yeah, that's a red, don't need to question it. Everything to do with that is a no. But if it's a yellow, it's like, okay, maybe there's like 1 or 2 things that I'm like, not so okay with. Like finding out what those things are is important, because then it's like, okay, cool, like I know what those things are. But again, like it's only if that player is comfortable with it. Like it's like that asking, like, are you okay to discuss this? Yes, no, yes, okay, we'll discuss it further and find out specifically what it is. No, okay, cool, I'll just that's
again,
we'll leave it at that.
You can find the TRPG consent form on the Trove. You can also find it in the Nerds D&D and Dorks Discord, where we teach you how to play D&D. We give you resources. You can bounce ideas off other DMs, etc. It's run by me. Ben is there. He's great. But
I'm there.
You're there.
I'm there.
Yeah, you're there. It's not like you use the server to DM your own games or anything.
What? No.
But communication, boundaries, understanding of that, putting the priority on those communications, and making sure you've got those trigger warnings in place and those safety tools to say, hey,
yes,
this is going, even if it's a streamed game, throwing it up in the beginning or before something happens, the welcome in did a phenomenal job and I'm going to use them as an example because they're actually live off tonight with Off the Rails currently.
Yeah.
But as a phenomenal example of a player's death. Player died in combat, and before even using the diamonds that is required for the spell that was used to bring him back, the player that was playing the character that was playing the cleric said, I'm going to put a trigger warning on this because death isn't beautiful. And then you waited a second. Those that are uncomfortable with the idea of what's about to happen are given the opportunity to mutate, to walk away, to go get some water, to stretch. Leave. It's okay. You walking away from a stream or needing a second or throwing up a, hey, I'm uncomfortable, I cannot watch this, or hey, I don't want to be here right now, it's okay. And then they proceeded with it. And it was a beautiful moment of, and a shining example of how a trigger warning should be put. Because it wasn't at the beginning, they didn't know it was going to happen, but those things happen during streams sometimes where a player passes away or dies, or combat's really gruesome and rough. And it's important to remember that this is not just your players at the table, you also have a chat to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely.
For home games, throw your DM a message that just says, hey, I'm uncomfortable, or hey, I need a second, or hey, my mental health is really struggling because of what just happened. I'm going to need some time. Hey, can we end session early tonight?
Raise a hand.
It's okay. Raise a hand, just put, hey, I'm going to walk away for a second. That was really heavy. Be honest and open with your communication, but be honest.
Yes, please do.
If you think it's going to affect you in one way or another, say something. We don't know as your DMs unless you tell us.
Because that's the thing, a DM will never do something specifically to make people uncomfortable, and if they do, they shouldn't be a DM. Yeah, like, so that's the thing. They will never, like, if they are a proper DM, they will never do anything specifically to make you uncomfortable. Go outside your boundaries that they are aware of. Just be honest with them and be open and be like, hey, this is a thing that I'm not quite okay with, or like whatever. And if, like that, every DM should be able to accept that completely and work around it and skip around it and all of that, because whilst it is, their game, it's everyone's game. It is everyone's game, and everyone needs to be comfortable with it. And whilst they're the storyteller, they got to work around the players as well.
And the Library of Lost Tales brings up anything they may have. Point. Players can call breaks as much as the DMs.
Exactly.
Which is exactly.
100%.
Yeah. So make sure your communication levels are high. You're doing what you need to make yourself comfortable. I can cite an instance where Ben needed to get up and walk away after his own player, which is Tarek, died in a very upsetting session. I can cite where at one point Farrell was going to die and I needed to get up and walk away for a second, and that's okay. Definitely for a second. It's alright. But I think since we're at an hour and a half, I think we've exhausted this topic. We've talked about a lot of wonderful good things, as well as Tarek and Farrell's relationship and how to have a healthy one.
Yeah.
And your high level of communication with the other person that's involved in that relationship. I couldn't have had this conversation without Ben being here, and vice versa, because this is a two-way street. But I think we'll end up going and rating the Welcome In, because they are playing tonight, and they are a shining example of quality D&D, and in a very good space. Their DMs are phenomenal. They stream on Fridays and Saturdays. Tonight is Off the Rails. Saturdays is Conundrum Company. Conundrum Company is just so fun. It's a mess. But examples of high levels of communication at a party, like at a party level, at a DM level, and putting over these, quality D&D and memes. Exactly. Quality D&D and memes. Yeah, other chaos. There's chaos, but in a good and healthy way. So, once again, I'm Ivy. You can see me and Ben both on Dice Cream Sandwich playing these characters, which is Tarek and Farrell, every Monday at 7 Central. Ben, you're over on The Show's a Mimic and Schooner later, right?
Yep, that's me. On Saturdays, I am on twitch.tv/ The Show is a Mimic for the Saradin Chronicles. And then on Wednesdays, I am on twitch.tv/ Schooner Relator, at least for now, because I believe that may be coming to an end soon, as we are getting near the end of that. Um, yeah, you got a BBG fight next session. It's gonna be wild. You don't want to miss that. That is on Wednesdays. Yeah,
Perfect.
check that out. That is Dungeons and Demigod.
And
It's a
over with
PJO
yeah.
setting.
And over on Wednesdays, I'm over on the Lark Network playing Ruby, who's a
Yes.
Fire Genasi Arcane Trickster Rogue. We are currently dealing with the siege of our secret city Calderine.
I love Ruby.
Ruby
Ruby is great.
She's a leader of Team 10, and she's working very diligently to keep her party under control. Every Friday, you can find me here either with Ben, running a one-shot, or running an all-girls stream, which is the Rectification. They're getting ready for a masquerade ball, so they get to deal with all that. But we're gonna go raid the welcome in, stay for at least a couple minutes, tell them we say hello.
Yeah,
Because they work so hard over there, so
they do.
at least
They're
stay for a
amazing.
couple minutes, give them a hello, help their numbers. But we will be back next Friday and the Friday after that. Thank you all for watching.
See you guys in a bit, friends.
Woo!